Peace. This is a meat and potato sorcery production starring myself, the Water Alchemist. And today, for the occult family, I will give you some techniques of decoding occult movies. Just off the top of my head. If you want more, you can email me at wateralchemist777 at gmail.com. So, the movie that I quickly want to decode was a remake, the 2010 Wolfman, starring Benicio del Toro. And it was taken from the 1941 classic, which I was a fan of and I saw. 1941, The Wolfman, starring Lon Chaney Jr. and Claude Rains. So, with that, let's get into it. When you are watching occult movies, there are certain things that you have to follow. Yes, you will have signs and you will have symbols, but you have to understand that most writers and even directors either were practicing occultists or at least occult theorists. An occult theorist is someone they won't necessarily engage in ritual and practice, but they will read a plethora of books and they will do research. So let's get into it. When you deal with the story of the so-called prodigal son, which you can take, which was biblically, the character Lawrence Talbot, portrayed by Benicio del Toro, comes home. There was always tension and a fractured relationship with the father, Sir John. Now, the thing about that is that most parents who have a fractured relationship with their child, this is usually because they cannot relate to them. You will see signs from an occult perspective that your mother or father cannot relate to you at an early age. It's usually from myself and what the movie talks about is usually before the age of 13, because 13 is an occult number and it is favored by the demons of the Goetia. Just to let you know that. Now, we're dealing with fractured relationships. That's one. When was, the movie made? Okay, it got pushed back, but it was 2010. But this is what's so interesting about it. The first movie starred Lon Chaney Jr., who was an Aquarius born February the 10th, 1906. Why is that important? I'm going to tell you why when you're decoding. And you always must do your research. Your research besides looking for signs and symbols. Aquarius is a sign of revolution and rebellion. Now, when you look at that, he got that he did things his own way. But what's so fantastic about the movie, and this may escape people in the remake of The Wolfman, is that there was a chase scene when he breaks out of an asylum. We have to remember something. From an occult perspective, psychology is a so-called pseudoscience, and they were using torture techniques. And they were doing things, even to this day, you have to think that psychology has not been proven. They give you some pills and that. So back then, they were dunking you in chairs and all this. This is what they were doing back then. And there's a documentary that Gary Knoll has. But let's stay with the science. So we're dealing with generational curses. And then there's one scene where he does break out of the asylum and he runs. Where was this taken from? Stay with me. There was a British company that took over from Universal Monsters and did great. Their only film on werewolves was the 1961 classic starring another Aquarius, Oliver Reed. That chase scene, and in an interview, Benicio del Toro had said that he had borrowed from that. Oliver Reed was born February 13th, another Aquarius, who just happened to be a descendant of King Edward VIII. I'm saying that if you want to decode movies, do research on when the day comes out and who the actors are and the message that they're trying to communicate. In every so-called Lycan movie, the whole theme is sexuality, repressed sexuality. In the Wolfman, whether the original one, the remake, Curse of the Werewolf, American Werewolf in London, they always deal with the fact that there is a love that they cannot have. So, we're dealing with a generational curse between Sir John and Lawrence Talbot, a love denied with the love interest, Gwen, who is in the movie. And then this is the most important thing that one has to understand when you are decoding movies. Besides scenery and besides certain signs. The one thing is that towards the end of the movie, when he was killed, this is the one thing that people have to understand when you are dealing with movies. They always give you something that you may have to internalize in your own earthly existence towards the end. When she shot him and released him from his curse, this is the message that a lot of people miss. I love you, but I love you enough to let you go. So, if you want to deal with decoding and you're interested in it, you can email me and I will be doing more occult movies and even occult shows. So with that, that is your meat and potato sorcery for the day. I'm the Water Alchemist. Water, my friend. Peace.